Okay, so the first thing that I'd like everyone to try to do is to just draw a cube, which I think everyone feels they can do, but inevitably is a little bit harder than you expect. So it doesn't really matter in what orientation you do this, because this is three-dimensional thinking. So you could do it in any number of ways. You could do the sort of very simplified, draw a square, draw another square that overlaps, and then connect the corners. That's fine. That's a good illusory cube. I may be skewing it a little bit because I'm looking slightly from the side, so forgive that. And once you've done that, the tricky part is going to come. I'd like you to try to spin the cube mentally and physically on the page. So if you think about this cube being on the center of a disc or a phonograph, as it used to be called, and then think about spinning this in that direction, one direction or the other, and try to imagine it in a different direction and draw it again. One thing that's helpful is to actually add a landmark, which is something we'll be doing with the anatomical parts as well. So you might say, put an X on this side, which is just going from corner to corner. Simple perspective trick. And then, when you redraw it, which I'm going to now attempt to do, just freehand, you can say, this side is the side with the X, and it's now spun slightly in that direction. And I think you can see that one of the things I'm doing is constantly fixing. I don't just draw the lines and expect them to be perfect. And that's something that is really important in drawing. Drawing is really about putting something down and then fixing it, massaging it to be the thing that you want it to be. So I may take some time to do that. You can also see that I'm drawing the cubes transparently, which is another aspect of this kind of technique that's important. You need to be able to express all sides of whatever shape, three-dimensional volume you are drawing, so that you can connect things to the back and the sides and all parts of it, almost like a wire frame. If you just can see the front, you're missing a lot of the information that you will easily have if you draw it transparently. So if you can do this a couple of times, try spinning it just always in this horizontal direction a few different ways. See if you can express the front of the cube. So you're just trying to mentally manipulate this object. And then to throw another wrench in the works, see if you can tip it. This has been trying to keep the cube more or less grounded on a ground plane that's the same, which is an important skill to be able to do. But let's see if we can tip the cube up on a corner. So if you want to turn off the video and try this before I do it, you can do that, and I'll do it now. Put the X over here. And as another little tip, putting a little drop shadow or shadow where it touches the ground can help to define that it is sitting on a plane, as well as defining where the light source is, which we won't get into right now. A next exercise, I will just do one small part of it, and maybe I'll add this as another video later on. But just to be able to manipulate how you think about a volume, if you draw a cube in any, let's make it a cube. any orientation that you'd like. And then you mark off 1/3 distances on each side. On every single side. Yes. And then you can start to think about removing parts of the cube in different ways and creating new edges and new lines that you then have to conceptually add or physically add in the drawing. So if I wanted to take the center chunk out of this, I would have to connect these lines. And then I have to get my eraser and erase out the lines that are no longer there. This also was a mistake. And then try to reinforce the feeling of the new volumes and the new absence of volume, which is, for example, that negative shape that cuts in there and goes all the way through the cube. You might even shade in the center of this. And you can see how I'm allowing this to overlap a little bit, just to augment the sense of 3 dimensions. And there's a number of simple cues that you can use that I will go through as we move along through the exercises. Of course, you can continue this process by cutting another third out, etc., etc., and though there are 3 dimensionalities that can be removed, the horizontal, the vertical, and the front to back, X, Y, Z axis. So I'll save that for another video, the entire exercise, which continues quite a bit. And we'll move on to some simple anatomical shapes that we can use in the future classes.